Hi, welcome to Sonoma County and our first live harvest recap here of the 2016 grape harvest. I'm Carissa Cruz and I'm president of the Sonoma County Wine Growers. I work on behalf of the 1,800 vineyard owners, grape growers, and vineyard managers here in Sonoma County. And I'm really excited today to talk about our 2016 harvest. Appropriately so, it's raining outside. So we would have loved to have brought this live from the vineyard, but instead we're live from the winery processing launch pad here at Boleto Vineyards and Winery. And I have some really great guests with me today to discuss the harvest, experts on winemaking and grape growing. So to my left, Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Anthony Beckman. I'm the winemaker at Boleto Vineyards. I just finished my 10th harvest as the winemaker at Boleto Vineyards, so it was quite an achievement. And I've been working with the third generation growers of John and Terry Boleto for the entire time. And to my left.
Yeah, my name is Steve St. Giacomo. I'm from St. Giacomo Family Vineyards. Third generation farmer. Our family's been farming in Sonoma County for almost 90 years, and I've been working at our family business for 20 years. This is my 20th harvest.
I'm Duff Bevel. I've been growing grapes in Sonoma County for 43 years. I have my own wine grape growing business, and I'm happy to be here with you today.
All right, guys, let's get started. So why don't you give me what you would say is the headline for the 2016 Sonoma County harvest?
I think it would have to be the weather in August, guys. I feel like we had this incredible stage from about August 15th to August 30th where we had very, very cool weather. The grapes were allowed to mature. I got awesome flavors without having huge sugars. Was able to harvest at perfect timing, and instead of having this early harvest like 2015, we had it a little bit later and let the grapes hang a little longer, and I'm just thrilled with the quality that is currently in barrel.
Yeah, I would say, Mother Nature's a rock star. It's always a rock star every year, but also balance. I think it comes to balanced vines makes exceptional wines. This was a year with a moderate growing season with not a lot of heat spikes, and I think we saw balanced yields, and those all add up to exceptional wine quality. So we're all looking forward to these wines going in bottle soon, as I'm sure you are.
I'd say it was a tempered season. We had no frost this spring, which is a big plus. We had real moderate temperatures during the growing season, especially in July and August. Had nice warm spells, but not too hot in the latter part of harvest. So it was a good year. It's one of the best, I think. It ranks around some of the best in the last 5 years.
Starting in May every year, I would say, we start getting asked, what's the crop size look like? Is it going to be a good harvest in Sonoma County, a bad harvest in Sonoma County? And obviously the easiest answer is always an average harvest. But what does that really mean? So we know in 2012, 13, and 14, we had exceptional years for tonnage size, crop size, that also balanced quality here in Sonoma County. Last year, great quality, but a little bit less fruit. I think we got just over 180,000 tons. So, guys, what was the crop size look like this year?
From a winemaking perspective, I feel it was perfect. It was not the big years of 12, 13, and 14, but it was double, especially for me, for Pinot Noir, it was double the 15 harvest, where we were 1 ton per acre on a lot of fields, which was brutal. So it was good to see crop loads in the 2.5 to 3 tons per acre. Quality was perfect. I was just thrilled with how the grapes showed and everything that we've done for the season. Awesome year.
Yeah, I would say that the crop size kind of throughout the whole season held true. I mean, going into harvest, everyone does crop estimates, and they're very difficult to do, just knowing what the size, how much of a bunch you're going to size. But I think of all the years, I think this is the closest that the crops ever come into that average, quote-unquote average, 10-year average number. The other thing I'd mention is the crop varieties. Of all the varieties, there's always a difference. One variety, Chardonnay, is higher than Pinot Noir, percentage-wise, and Cabernet is higher than Sauvignon Blanc. I think across the board, I think all varieties kind of were in that similar kind of yield range on a normal level.
Yeah, I think now that we're adding up all the numbers, I think we're going to characterize this year as average. Although in June, when we were doing our first crop estimates, right after a berry set, we were pretty concerned that some vineyards, some varieties in some vineyards were going to be pretty light. And as it turns out, some of those did much better. So we're seeing a difference between appellations, for instance, Dry Creek versus Alexander Valley, Russian River Valley. We're seeing patterns from one against the other. But all in all, I'd say it was closer to average year than not.
Yeah, I think Duff brings up a good point. Like during bloom, when those flowers open, the little small berries are there, and you're just crossing your fingers that they're going to grow in size. And there was some trepidation, I think, in May and June where we were looking at the crop like we may have another light one. But thankfully for that cool August, it just sized up and we were able to kind of hit that more normal number.
Yeah, we had some of our Sauvignon Blanc blocks up around Dry Creek, Rush River and Dry Creek, and it's like a real light berry set, but that real cool growing season we had, berries sized up, clusters sized up, and the fruit quality was great, and the tonnage is surprised us. They were higher than we expected.
So this year, you guys mentioned that we started harvest a little later than we did in 2015. I think our official kickoff was August 1st. And as you see today on October 25th, it's raining, which is really signaling the end of our harvest here in Sonoma County. That's a pretty condensed window for us, right? I mean, how has that been changing, and what did you see this year, and how did that look for you guys?
Yeah. For me, again, we go back to these 2 weeks of coolness in August, and everything for me caught up together. So I'm farming about 15 different acres here, our vineyards here in Russian River Valley. And usually I'll harvest the Santa Rosa Plains, and then I'll sort of move into the Sebastopol Hills, and then I've got a couple late vineyards over here, and everything came together at the same time and creeped up to this point of being about 22.5 bricks and sat there for about 4 days. And then everything came in at once. So for me, we had 7-8 days of pure mayhem where I was picking whole vineyards at a time. Things that usually would span over 6 days, I was picking in 1 day, and we filled up 42 open tops in a 7-day period, and it was madness. Quality was great, but getting it all done and in the tanks was crazy, totally crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think harvest was condensed, but the growing season was long.
Yeah.
I mean, we had an early bud break, similar to the previous year. With the cool summer, just everything extended out, which is fine. It was just a little more work for us to kind of out in the vineyard to kind of keep the vines healthy and happy. So that long season, though, really was beneficial for developing flavors on the vines. The skins matured and seeds matured. So I think that short harvest, it did coincide with the long growing season. So and with that, those long growing seasons, the attention to detail, precision farming is necessary for timing, because with those long seasons, there's usually cool, foggy mornings. And so, the attention to detail in the vineyard is at its optimum need in these type of years.
It is. This is the first year, and I can't recall the last time it happens, but this is the first year that I remember where we were picking Chardonnay at the same time we were picking Cabernet Sauvignon, and that's really unique. As a matter of fact, one of the very last blocks we picked was down in the Fulton area of the Russian River Valley, and it was a Chardonnay block that it slowly matured, and the weather was favorable. Even though it had some rain on it earlier towards the end of harvest, we put people out and removed leaves around the fruit zone to protect it from developing bunch rots. And we wound up picking it, and I think it was the second to last block we picked this year, while we're picking Cabernet Sauvignon up in Alexander Valley. So interesting compressed year.
And I think this is the cleanest the fruit has ever been. I mean, I think part of it was due to the lack of rain, thankfully the delayed fall rains during harvest. But my dad always, he's been farming 80 years, this is his 80th harvest. He says 40 of them were in pears, but this is the cleanest he's ever seen fruit. We have sorters that we put out in the vineyard to sort raisins, little botrytis and stuff, and they're laughing. They had nothing to do.
Yeah, I was going to the sort table when we were processing Pinot and walking up, and the sort table was going about this fast. And I just walk up and hit the speed up button because there was nothing to take off. They were taking off a couple leaves, some petioles, and there was no real rot and no real discolored berries or anything you would want to take off. So every time I'd walk past, I'd speed up the table, make them work a little faster, and again, just an awesome year.
When you guys talk about this clean fruit, what does that actually mean for wine quality, and what what does the leaf and the petioles and all those things? What does that do to the wine when you're
really what you don't want is any mold. You've got all these bacteria and other things and molds that go in, and they affect your color, they affect how your tannins interact, they affect really everything that's in there. So usually on a really heavy rot year, you would be pulling them off as quickly as you could and running the sort table super slow so that you got every last little unripe or moldy berry off of the table. This year they didn't exist, and so we were luckily able to zip through a lot of our Pinot Noir, which was great because, like I said, we did it all in about 9 or 10 days.
Yeah, I think it allows for more natural farming and more natural winemaking. There's less that we have to do in the vineyard. There's less that winemakers have to do in the cellar and the winery to kind of produce outstanding wine. So it's kind of that kind of natural element of wine coming through.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I've done very little to any of the wines this year. It was one of those years where we harvested it, we processed it, we got it into a tank, and I sort of just walked away. Didn't have to add really anything, which is the dream. The less we do here in this building, the better the wine is. And it was a year where we could pull that off.
Yeah, I think this year, both growers and winemakers, we had it relatively easy.
Yeah.
So one year we're always blaming them. Hey, you guys had it easy.
We're always blaming each other.
Blaming each other, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. No complaints.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me it's hard and you're tired if you just said it was pretty easy. Just for perspective for all of you out there, so you've heard these guys talk about everything from Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, all these different grape varieties that were harvested and varietal wines that are made here in Sonoma County. So how does that all happen in one county? So just to let all of you know, Sonoma County is pretty big. We're about 1 million acres, although we only have about 60,000 acres planted to grapes. But because of that 1 million acres, those grapes are planted all over our county. We actually have 17 different growing regions here, known as American Viticultural Areas, AVAs. And so that's why we were able to get fantastic Cabernet Sauvignon up in some of our warmer areas of Alexander Valley, and fantastic Pinot Noir and Chardonnay in some of our cooler areas like the Russian River Valley, Green Valley. So it's just a great opportunity to be able to have so much variety, which is also the challenge you hear. So, you're obviously always managing when to harvest and how to make great wines out of all those great varieties. So the clean fruit sounded like the highlight. That was the easy part of harvest. Was there any challenges you guys faced?
Well, I think there's always challenges. It's one of those things that every year is different, and what you need to do as a winemaker, and I'm sure as a grower too, is you need to find out what that year is going to bring and make sure you're ahead of the game. For me, that again was really logistics. With everything coming right very close together, it was a matter of getting it all done, making sure I had crews, making sure I had tanks. We ran out of everything. We ran out of tanks. We ran out of people. We worked 3 weeks straight where my entire crew was at 95 hours a week. We were working until late. And that was really the issue for us, was just getting it all in, getting it all done.
Well, we didn't have it that easy. I mean, it's easy.
The backtracking.
It's easy relative to other vintages. But I'd say the one is just getting everything done timely, as we talked about earlier. It's just with a moderate season, the vines grow faster because there's not a lot of cold and hot days. So with that, it's getting in, getting the vines suckered. The vines are growing so fast. It's just we had to get in there as quickly as we can to sucker, lift wires, leafing. So all those little cultural tasks we do in the vineyard, we had a smaller window to do it. So it just put a lot of pressure on, just getting done as quickly as we can.
Yeah, that was the issue too. A grower always worries that he has enough help at harvest time to pick grapes, and that's still an issue now. But the timings throughout the year is critical, and that's where it's been a real struggle. This particular year, it was another example of not having enough people at the right time to get tasks done in the field in a timely manner. You struggle through it, and it takes what you normally get done in a couple of weeks. It takes an extra week, that sort of thing. But that's still a challenge. Labor's still a challenge, and because timing is so critical in so many things we do in a vineyard.
Hey, if you're out there, feel free to send us any questions. One of my favorite questions actually is, all right, what are your harvest superstitions, traditions, things you always do, things you never do? Let me hear it.
I'm still sporting the beard, so I will be clean shaven hopefully by Friday when I press off my Zinfandel, which was my last fruit in. It came in about 10 days ago. Hopefully by Friday it'll be done. I'll go home on Saturday and go back to the baby face.
Yeah, so we finished a couple, the vineyards finished a couple weeks earlier than the winemakers. So, but I think for us, my brother and I always had the tradition of not cutting our hair during harvest, especially when weather's good. When the weather's good, we ride it out. The weather's so good this year, we decided not to shave. So I've recently shaved because I've been done a couple
you're
weeks.
10 days ahead of me.
So, but that was it worked. This is the first time we've ever gone through basically the whole harvest without the fruit getting wet. So it was definitely a reason. I'm incorporate that tradition next year. Then the shave, it was the non-shaving.
Same socks,
So,
too.
Doug, you've been doing that.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
here's the question for Duck: is that your harvest beard, or is that the year
Maybe
round?
maybe
beard?
next year
Everyone
shave
wants
it.
to
Doug.
know.
Yeah, this
Shave it next
is
year.
my 43rd harvest beard. Yeah. No in betweens. No, the tradition we have is we do a big lunch for all of our employees before harvest to get everybody kind of geared up and give them the pitch. And then after harvest, we have a big get together, and we do a safety reward luncheon for everybody, and that's a tradition. We've done that for decades now.
That's great. So one of the things we've done here in Sonoma County is in January of 2014, we made a big commitment to be 100% certified sustainable in our vineyards. And I just am sort of curious, what that actually means in terms of harvest for all you guys, and what does sustainability mean in the vineyards and as we're looking at bringing the grapes in?
I think, we've been certified sustainable at Boleto Vineyards now for 6 or 7, 8 years, I believe. And what has happened is it's really become part of our mindset. It's become part of how we function, and it's small things. It's never really these huge things, but it's about going through and you get an extra leafing pass, or you're using different, less impactful chemicals so that you can not have mold growth. And we're really conscious about everything we're doing in the field. I think top to bottom, it's really changed our mindset from big things to small.
Yeah, I mean, this is always the time where our vineyards get the report card, just like my kids are going to get a report card here in a few weeks. So we go through and we grade all our vineyards on vine growth, health, yields, and wine quality. And so also this time of year, it's our time to prepare for the next year. So it's kind of our off season, like, football players go condition and stuff. This is our time to go through our farming plan, understand what we did, what enhancements we can make from farming to how we treat our employees and how we can be better stewards in the community. So it's that whole mindset of, and this is the time, as you can see, there's some wet weather outside. This is when we have time to kind of analyze our whole business.
It's a collection of a lot of little things. Right now, we've shifted our harvest behaviors to nighttime harvesting primarily. We've upgraded and continue to modify our how we manage irrigation. So we irrigate more smartly and with less water. That's a big part of the plan. And safety. This is the first year we've had absolutely no injuries at harvest time. And that doesn't mean large injuries, but even from a cut finger, we had none this year, and that was from ramping up our safety programs for our employees. So it's a collection of many things that makes sustainability a program for the long term.
Yeah, that's interesting what you mentioned about night harvest. I mean, that really is such a great sustainable practice. It helps, our harvesters out there. It's nice and cool in the evening versus what might be a midday harvest where it's hot and not as comfortable to do that. And then it brings in the grapes cold for the wineries, which is great, right? You're saving on energy.
You're saving on a ton of energy. We'll get grapes in and they'll be 48 degrees after a cold morning. And I'll put them in the tank, and I don't have to turn any cooling on. I really don't have to do anything. It's a huge difference. Temperature for wine grapes and wine making is critical because you have, everything is made by yeast and bacteria, and you want the good ones to live and you want the bad ones to die. And cool fruit is just key to that. It's paramount to making good wine.
And I think the key is, number one, it's our sustainable practices as we analyze our irrigation, how we prune our vines, and how we do things more efficiently, is the wine quality. So I think we continue to see the fruit get better and better, and the wines get better and better as we, enhance these sustainable practices and, continue to commit to the sustainability programs that we have in place.
Yeah, I agree. It's just it's on everybody's mind, and the challenge I have is making sure all my employees keep on that same page of thinking about these programs and how we can make our entire farming operation better.
So if you're joining us late, let me just reintroduce myself and our guests for a minute. I'm Carissa Cruz, president of the Sonoma County Wine Growers. To my immediate left is Anthony Beckman. He's the winemaker here at Boleto Vineyards. To his left is Steve Sangiacomo. He's in Giacomo Family Vineyards, multi-generational grape grower here in Sonoma County. And all the way to the end, who I like to refer to as our own ZZ Top of grape growing here, is Duff Bevel, and he has Bevel Vineyard Management. And so I want to shift gears. Harvest every year is the star of the show. But you guys are farmers, so winemaker as well. Winemakers and farmers year-round. This isn't something you pop into for 8 weeks, 12 weeks and do the heavy lifting. You're out there thinking about your farming practices year-round. So what's next for the vineyards? What's next for the winery? What is the next, what happens after all of this?
Well, we've already started the discussions on pruning, so we're starting to think about where we felt crop yield was low, where we might want to prune differently. So 2017 harvest has already had the first dialogues. I'm sure you guys are in the same boat with thinking about, again, like Steve was saying, we're in the off season and we're sort of looking at everything we did and how we want to do it better. And it will start with pruning coming in January.
Yeah, and again, as I mentioned previously, we analyze every part of our farming plan, and so it's for us an opportunity to really see how the vines performed, what we can do better. The other thing is that just with our before these rains, we were busy with our erosion control plans. We like to say putting our vines to bed, right, for dormancy. So we have a lot of straw wattles going out just to make sure that our vineyards and our soils are in good shape to withstand hopefully a wet winter to come. Which we're all keeping our fingers crossed on that one.
Right now, matter of fact, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we have a post-harvest debrief meeting with all of my managers, and we talk about what went well and what didn't go well or needed improvement harvest, so we get that sort of booked for discussion prior to next year's harvest. Right now, we are putting post-harvest applications of fertilizers, the vineyards that need it. Definitely erosion control is a priority right now. We actually worked through this last weekend knowing that this week would be a busy rain-filled week. So everybody was on high gear getting all of erosion work completed that we'd started before harvest. It's put on hold during harvest. Now we're back wrapping that right now. So it's planning stages right now. Budgets next month and planning for next year.
All right, as we get close to wrapping up, I have one last question for this group. What is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, gosh. I can't imagine doing any other job. And so to think of a favorite part is really kind of hard, actually. I think it's a combination of creating something that comes from nature, and you take it and it does this incredible transformation either in the barrel or in a tank, and you take a fruit and you turn it into this wine. And it's just an incredible thing to watch the process from pruning in January all the way through the growing season to right now where things are fermenting. I'm pushing my last lots through primary fermentation, getting all the sugar out, and then into in the next 10 months when I'll get that into bottle. And just watching that transformation, being a part of it, guiding it, it's just an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I'd say this time of year, right? We're reaping the rewards of a wonderful harvest season, and we have enjoying that how the harvest performed. I like to say, we put on all this hard work. It's a marathon. It's a whole season. It's like a football season. So this is like a Super Bowl. And we're lucky in this business because, as most teams, not everyone wins a Super Bowl every year. But I feel like we win the Super Bowl every year as a wine grower in Sonoma County.
Yeah, I never dreamed I'd be in the wine business. I always knew I'd be in farming, but not the wine business. So that was sort of a lucky move. But I love the farming part of it, and over the last 15 years or so, I'd have to say that the people I've gotten to know in this industry, like the group right here, is pretty important and satisfying, as well as the farming part of the story.
I'd have to agree. It's rare you can get people from, we're somewhat competitors, although we're not. It's much more a community, and I think I just really respect that. I helped out my neighbors down the street a couple times this harvest. A phone call, they needed some equipment, something's broken, and I know that if I made a phone call, they would do the same for me. It's just an awesome community. The people in it, everyone's focused on doing the best that they can, making the best wine and growing the best grapes. And I don't think you find that in every industry. I think it's a rare thing, and we cherish it. And I don't think any of us take it for granted.
Yeah, I would say absolutely my favorite part of this whole job is getting to work with these passionate guys who love making wine, love growing grapes. And so if you want to join us at home, you can go out and buy a great bottle of Sonoma County wine, or even better, come and visit us and meet everyone for yourself. So thank you so much for tuning in today to our first live harvest recap of 2016. We look forward to seeing you all again soon. And remember, Sonoma County Sustainable.